According to the theory of disablement, depriving offenders of the power of doing future mischief is among the more prominent of the motives for which punishments are inflicted. Long-term imprisonment and the death penalty serve its purpose. The rationale behind long-term imprisonment is that, when the convict leaves prison, he would be much too old in body and in spirit to commit crimes again. The death penalty is often considered as the complete and ultimate realization of the principle of disablement. A case study is an in-depth analysis of an individual customer's experience with your company. These pieces tend to use a more scientific approach to prove how your business played a role in the customer's success. Case studies often use facts and observations to demonstrate how certain products or services benefited actual customers of your business. One of the best benefits of case study testimonials is that it provides a potential lead with a complete customer story. Recently, research into embryonic development has given us an even better insight into how major structural changes might occur in a given population of organisms. We now understand that there are two major types of genes, developmental and housekeeping genes. Developmental genes are those that are expressed during embryonic development, and their proteins control the symmetry, skeletal development, organ placement, and overall form of the developing animal. You have probably seen dogs working security at airports, sniffing for drugs, bombs and contraband food. Now our best friend biosensors might have a new task, ferreting out the scent of bird flu. And they may not be alone on the job. Researchers from the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Monell Chemical Senses Center trained mice to identify duck droppings from animals infected with bird flu. Losing weight is no walk in the park. Although a walk in the park wouldn't hurt. Seems no matter what diet you try, those stubborn love handles just won't go away. Part of the problem is that the bulk of your bulk is stored inside fat cells. And the number of fat cells you have is set before you reach adulthood. So if you chunked up as a child, that battalion of fat cells is with you for life. It's enough to make you want to bury your face in a tray of brownies, I know. Astrophobia is extreme fear of thunder and lightning. It can affect people of all ages, though it may be more common in children than adults. It's also seen in animals. Many children who have this fear will eventually outgrow it, but others will continue to experience the phobia into adulthood. Astrophobia can also manifest in adults who didn't have it as children. Being caught in a thunderstorm or preparing for extreme weather conditions can create reasonable levels of anxiety or fear. Scientists searching open cotton ball caves in Mexico found bits of cotton bolls and pieces of cotton cloth that proved to be at least 7,000 years old. They also found that the cotton itself was much like that grown in America today. In the Indus River Valley in Pakistan, cotton was being grown, spun and woven into cloth 3,000 years BC. At about the same time, natives of Egypt's Nile Valley were making and wearing cotton clothing.
Hat, any of various styles of head covering. Hats may serve protective functions but often signify the wearer's sensibility to fashion or serve ceremonial functions, as when symbolizing the office or rank of the wearer. Hats of plant fibers are associated with the ancient rural traditions of Europe and Anatolia. An early statue of Mercury shows his hat to be of finely plaited straw. Artisans of classical Athens and Rome usually wore conical caps with egg-shaped crowns made of felt. The skin is the largest organ of the body, with a total area of about 20 square feet. The skin protects us from microbes and the elements, helps regulate body temperature, and permits the sensations of touch, heat, and cold. The epidermis, the outermost layer of skin, provides a waterproof barrier and creates our skin tone. The dermis, beneath the epidermis, contains tough connective tissue, hair follicles, and sweat glands. Fossils are the preserved remains, or traces of remains, of ancient organisms. Fossils are not the remains of the organism itself. They are rocks. A fossil can preserve an entire organism or just part of one. Bones, shells, feathers, and leaves can all become fossils. Fossils can be very large or very small. Microfossils are only visible with a microscope. Bacteria and pollen are microfossils. Macrofossils can be several meters long and weigh several tons. Endocrinology is a branch of medicine that deals with the endocrine system, which controls the hormones in your body. An endocrinologist is a physician who specializes in the field of endocrinology. Endocrinologists diagnose and treat a wide range of conditions affecting the endocrine system, including diabetes mellitus, thyroid disorders, osteoporosis, growth hormone deficiency, infertility, cholesterol problems, hypertension, obesity and more. Rehabilitation is highly person-centered, meaning that the interventions and approach selected for each individual depends on their goals and preferences. Rehabilitation can be provided in many different settings, from inpatient or outpatient hospital settings, to private clinics, or community settings such as an individual's home. The rehabilitation workforce is made up of different health professionals, including physiotherapists, occupational therapists, speech and language therapists, orthotists and prosthetists, and physical medicine and rehabilitation doctors. Less than 50 years ago plastic bags were a rarity. Now it seems like you can't buy anything without it being carried out in a branded plastic bag. If we can understand how we got ourselves here, maybe we can find a way to get ourselves out. Polyethylene, the most common type of plastic used for disposable bags, was first created in 1898, but it was not until the mid-1950s that a high-density polyethylene was invented. The history of playgrounds in the West can be divided into three periods: traditional, contemporary, and adventure playground design. The American children's play movement began in Boston in 1885 with the development of children's sand gardens modeled on German designs. German-born Marie Zarkrzewska was one of the earliest female physicians in the United States. While in Berlin, Zarkrzewska had noted the simple piles of sand bordered by wooden planks that provided a safe, enclosed space for several children to engage in sand play.
Sending humans to Mars is a phenomenal undertaking by all standards and presents very real risks and challenges. Establishing a permanent settlement is very complex, but it is far less complex and requires much less infrastructure sent to Mars than return missions. Mars One has already started contracting established aerospace companies that will be able to develop the required systems. Spirituality is a broad concept with room for many perspectives. In general, it includes a sense of connection to something bigger than ourselves, and it typically involves a search for meaning in life. As such, it is a universal human experience, something that touches us all. People may describe a spiritual experience as sacred or transcendent or simply a deep sense of aliveness and interconnectedness. Some may find that their spiritual life is intricately linked to their association with a church, temple, mosque, or synagogue. History of umbrellas is long and eventful. From the earliest appearances of simple palm leaf umbrella, long age of being synonym to wealth, to the modern time when is regarded as general item, umbrellas managed to intersect with our history in many interesting ways. Advancements in technology, changing tastes, and use in religion all enabled umbrellas to grow and prosper, becoming one of the principal ways we protect ourselves from rain. Microwave ovens generate radiation at a frequency of about 2450 MHz by means of a magnetron, which is a kind of electron tube. Since the heating occurs by an absorption process, microwave ovens tend to cook certain foods unevenly or at different rates. For example, moist foods cook faster than less moist ones, and moist outer layers tend to absorb most of the radiation before it can reach inner sections, which remain uncooked. Originally, the term optics was used only in relation to the eye and vision. Later, as lenses and other devices for aiding vision began to be developed, these were naturally called optical instruments, and the meaning of the term optics eventually became broadened to cover any application of light, even though the ultimate receiver is not the eye but a physical detector, such as a photographic plate or a television camera. When geologists talk about mud, they're referring to tiny particles that stick together when wet. Those particles have often broken down from larger rocks over time due to the forces of wind, rain, ice and snow. Fungi and microbes can break down rock and form mud, too. Before plants arrived on land, mud was around, it was just mostly sent to the seafloor by rivers. Once plants showed up, they not only held sediments in place but their roots also physically broke down rock and released chemicals that further crumbled it.